Inside an office in the city, a bunch of people are unconscious while covered in giant bug cocoons. Suddenly a huge insect stinger appears and pierces one of the employees. This started a few days ago. Cooper is late for work, yet he still argues with his dad on the phone. His father is tired of Cooper always being in trouble and calls him an embarrassment for the family name. As Cooper tries to convince him he isn't a loser, he almost gets hit by a car, but he dodges it just in time. Afterward, Cooper makes it to the office and quickly reaches his desk to pretend he's been working for a while. However, the boss Morin calls him to his office to play some recordings that prove Cooper has been behaving inappropriately with the clients, so she fires him. At that moment, a deafening sound rings through the building and every person in it passes out. A few days later, the office is covered in bug cocoons. These were formed by giant insects, which now wander around the office to sting their prisoners. When Cooper wakes up, he immediately breaks the cocoon and frees himself, only to throw up some strange goo. At that moment, a giant beetle attacks him, so a panicking copper does his best to fight back until he pushes it away. After taking a moment to calm down, Cooper sees Morin in a cocoon and rushes to help her. When she wakes up, she feels sick too. Both she and Cooper remember hearing the noise and passing out, but they have no idea what happened next. Morin also remembers that she was supposed to meet with her daughter, so she and Cooper run outside to check on other people. The situation on the streets is the same. Every person is caught in big cocoons. They find Morin's daughter Sarah in a cocoon inside her car, so Cooper volunteers to help. He quickly breaks the cocoon, but when Sarah wakes up, she misunderstands the situation and sprays gas at Cooper's eyes. Suddenly a huge wasp flies in and grabs Morin to then fly away with her. Sarah screams for her mother, but she can't reach up to help her. While Cooper still feels his eyes burning, he agrees to leave with Sarah, only for giant bugs to start appearing all around them. As she moves away, Sarah accidentally knocks over a garbage can and realizes that the big bugs react to noises, so she activates the alarm on her car. The creatures immediately run to the vehicle and the duo can escape safely. Minutes later, they enter a cafe, which is also full of cocooned people. Sarah wants to help them, but Cooper is against it, pointing out they may react violently and that explaining things so many times will get tiring. Suddenly a man called Hugo grabs Sarah by the neck and Cooper tries to come to her defense, only to get punched in the process. Then another huge bug appears and attacks Cooper, so Hugo lets go of Sarah and immediately kills the creature. While the guys are distracted, Sarah uses the chance to free 6 people from the cocoons, including a police officer. The group agrees to work together and discusses how to proceed. Roger says they should leave on his truck, but Sarah points out the noise would attract the bugs. Refusing to listen to her, Roger and PJ leave the group behind and get in the truck anyway. Just like Sarah predicted, the engine noise attracts giant beetles that immediately smash the truck. PJ jumps out, but as he tries to escape, he breaks his leg, and another truck that lost control ends up running over him. Roger stays behind the wheel, so the beetles reach through the window to capture him and carry him away. Meanwhile, the rest of the group are fighting the insects too. In the struggle, the police officer is killed and Hugo's father Albert gets stung in the back, which leaves a strange mark on his skin. The remaining survivors hide in the nearest building and decide to go to the roof to assess the situation. They see a mysterious red smoke in the distance and a huge horde of wasps flying away from it. The group discusses what to do, so Cooper suggests going to his dad's house because he's a former soldier who has a bunker with supplies. However, it would be a long trip and they aren't sure how to reach the house safely. At that moment, a bunch of bugs fly by, so Lychee waves her arms. However, the bugs don't react and fly away. This confirms they're blind and use sound to locate their victims. The group agrees they need to learn more about their enemy before making a decision, so they put a radio inside a closet to lure a beetle into it, quickly trapping it inside. Lychee is a scientist and wants to milk the beetle like a snake to study its venom, which disgusts the others, but they agree to help anyway. They open the closet and team up to hold the beetle down, fortunately managing to get a sample of the venom without anyone getting hurt. While Lychee studies the liquid, the others share their experiences. They all have the same story. They heard the noise, passed out, and later woke up to find the cocoons. Eventually, Lychee concludes that the bug's poison acts as sedative. She also discovers a red gas like the one they saw earlier. She can tell the bugs emit it, but she can't tell what it is. In the end, the group agrees to stay in the building for the night and leave for Cooper's dad's place in the morning while stopping at each team member's house on the way. Moments later, Cooper can't sleep because he's sure he met Sarah before, but he can't remember where. He goes looking for something to eat, but when he grabs a box, normal bugs begin crawling out of it. Cooper gets scared anyway and immediately drops the box, only to get startled again by Cindy. She explains she works on TV and wants to leave with him to the studio to try to call someone for help. Cooper likes the idea and says they can return for the others in the morning, but Cindy says she only wants to leave with him. Creeped out, Cooper cancels the plan. The next morning, the group wakes up when they hear a loud noise coming from the closet. It seems the beetle is trying to escape and is screeching to call its buddies for help, so Albert just breaks into the closet and quickly kills it. The group agrees it's time to leave, but Lychee decides to stay behind and wake up as many people as possible because they could help fight the creatures. The team leaves, and while they walk, Cooper tries to talk to Sarah, but he behaves like a weirdo and Sarah calls him immature. This ends up with both using sarcasm to insult each other. Moments later, they arrive at Albert and Hugo's house and Cooper goes inside with them to look for Hugo's mom. While waiting, Sarah is shocked to find a note with Cooper's phone number in her pocket. Inside, the trio is upset to find the mother dead. A furious Albert makes sure to grab a gun before rejoining the others. Cooper tries to point out that the noise of firing a gun will attract more enemies, but Albert ignores him. The group keeps going and makes it to Cindy's brother's house. There are several people in cocoons in the yard, suspiciously organized in a line. At that moment, Cindy's brother comes out of the garage carrying another cocoon and revealing his transformation. He's become a half-bug mutant. When he sees the group, he immediately attacks and wounds Cooper in the chaos. Cindy tries to connect with him, but the guy isn't human anymore and can't understand her. He thinks like a beast and immediately grabs her, so Hugo has to save her. Cindy begs the group not to kill her brother, but it's clear the guy can't be saved, so Hugo and Albert stab him to death with forks. The group rushes to Cindy's house to spend the night and Hugo and Albert lock all the windows and doors. While Sarah treats Cooper's wound, he says if he ever turns, she should run instead of hitting him. He also admits that he always dreamed of what he would do during the apocalypse. He wanted to live in the woods with a girl like Sarah and repopulate the planet. The duo chats for a while and starts bonding, especially when Cooper shares that he recently lost his mother too. Meanwhile, Albert is exploring the house and starts to feel unwell. When he bumps into Sarah, he doesn't tell her about his pain, but he does ask her to take care of his son like she takes care of Cooper. Later that night, Cooper suddenly is awakened by Cindy, who is grieving for her brother. Needing some comfort, she takes off her clothes and asks Cooper to take care of her, coming too close for comfort. However, Cooper gently pushes her away and turns her down. Hurt, Cindy leaves the room in huff. The next day the team keeps traveling and they notice the mysterious smoke in the distance again. Sarah thinks that it's coming from the bug's nest and wants to go there to find her mom, but Cooper changes her mind by pointing out the chance of success are incredibly low. At that moment a bunch of bugs fly above them, so the group keeps silent to go unnoticed. Feeling nervous, Cooper and Sarah hold hands. Cindy notices this and the jealousy makes her snap, so she starts screaming to get the monster's attention. The others try to make her stop, but she won't listen to reason, so Albert kills her with a shot. The bugs soon attack and Albert shoots down a bunch of them in quick succession. One of the monsters still manages to reach him and grabs him to carry him away, but luckily Cooper gets the gun and kills the creature to free Albert just in time. Another monster uses the distraction to attack Cooper, so Sarah rushes to help him. The bug lets go of Cooper and grabs Sarah instead, flying away with her. In the end, only Cooper, Albert, and Hugo are left. The trio walks for a while and eventually they reach the house of Cooper's father. Ethan is in the garden calling for his dog, who has been missing for a while. Cooper asks him not to make loud noises, but Ethan won't listen. In the evening, Ethan gathers the guests and they discuss their options. Suddenly Albert loses a tooth and before everyone can react, he begins transforming into a bug mutant and attacks Cooper. A fight ensues and as Cooper tries to keep Albert distracted, Hugo has no choice but to shoot his own father. Hugo then has a breakdown while explaining that this is what his father had asked him to do. Unfortunately, the sound of the gunshot attracts more monsters. Ethan kills one of them before the three guys run to hide in the bedroom, only to bump into Ethan's dog on the way. It turns out the dog has mutated as well, but Ethan throws her favorite toy and easily distracts her. At that moment a horde of big beetles attack, so the trio runs until they make it to the bunker. Now they're safe, they go to sleep for the night. A flashback begins showing that the person who almost hit Cooper with a car had been Sarah. They argued about whose fault it was and Cooper gave her his number in case he damaged her car, which was an excuse to ask her out. In the present, Cooper wakes up in shock as he realizes why he knew her face. During breakfast, Ethan says there are no government messages on the radio, which means they can't hope for help. He wants to plan a route to a safe place, but Cooper is tired of following his father's every whim and announces he'll go to the nest to rescue Sarah. He asks his dad for help, but Ethan refuses to go with him. Hugo does want to come along, however Cooper doesn't want to put him in danger and forces him to stay. Moments later, Cooper is walking alone down the road and stops to relieve himself. Suddenly a man points a gun at him and doesn't care about anything Cooper has to say, he just arrests him. Cooper finds himself in jail with a guy that only speaks Spanish. Thankfully Cooper can speak it as well and learns that the man that captured them and his partner think everyone will eventually turn into mutated monsters, so they're cleaning the streets like vigilantes. To Cooper's surprise, his cellmate was part of Leachy's group, but sadly they failed to deal with the insects. The mysterious red smoke turned out too inflammable and caused a fire that destroyed the group's shelter, with this man as the only survivor. Meanwhile Sarah wakes up in the bug's nest and finds the queen consuming hundreds of cocooned humans and laying eggs. She starts moving around, hoping to find her mother. Moments later, the vigilantes bring Ethan and Hugo to the police station too. Cooper explains only people with a bite mark turn into mutants, so the vigilantes check Ethan and discover he's already been stung. A gunfight ensues, and as everyone tries to defend themselves, the man in the cell turns into a mutant, only for the stray bullets to quickly shoot him down. Then Ethan brings down the vigilantes. Cooper, Hugo, and Ethan grab all the weapons they can find and leave the station, ready to find the nest. The trio finds some bicycles and ride together while Ethan explains how he was stung. He freed the neighbor's dog from a cocoon and it started barking, which got the attention of the bugs. As he fought them off, they managed to sting him. Eventually the trio makes it to a cliff and finally finds the nest. Inside, Sarah is still moving and is shocked to find a mutant child, who immediately starts screaming. This noise makes Ethan feel sick and he snaps, handcuffing Cooper to a tree and knocking Hugo out to protect them. After saying goodbye to his son and dropping the handcuff keys for later, Ethan heads into the nest. Seconds later, Hugo wakes up and frees Cooper, then the boys run to the nest as well. Inside, Sarah is carefully moving around avoiding enemies when she's suddenly startled by Ethan. Thinking she's being attacked, she stabs him in the hand with a knife. Ethan quickly introduces himself and Sarah cries, admitting she hasn't found her mother. After Ethan comforts her, they go looking for the queen, but they don't find her where Sarah last saw her. It turns out the queen is on the ceiling and gets ready to attack, so Ethan opens fire. However, the queen is tougher than the other bugs and won't fall easily. Cooper and Hugo hear the shots and follow them to help. At that moment the queen emits a painful deafening sound, but since Hugo has hearing problems, he isn't affected and manages to throw explosives into the queen's mouth just in time. Cooper is also firing at her, but at that moment Ethan starts turning into a monster, so Cooper, Hugo, and Sarah decide to run away. As they make their way to the exit, the explosives go off and flames take over the nest, absolutely destroying it and knocking out the survivors. Sometime later, Cooper wakes up in the hospital and discovers Sarah and Hugo are fine. Outside they hear birds singing instead of bugs screeching. Thinking it's over, the trio goes to the street and start freeing people while Cooper and Sarah agree to date. At that moment they see something in the distance and get terrified. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.